What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another installment of Notes from the Editors here on 9-Panel Grid. This evening, Stu is taking a well-earned, well-deserved break here, so I figured it would only be like the perfect person to tag team in here. Nick from Comic Culture here, considering the topic we're going to be going over. Nick, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I can't wait to get into this. I think it's my first time on Notes with the Editor. This is great, man. I think this is awesome. So thanks for having me, and I can't wait to get into this.
Well, thank you, man. It's a totally different experience, by the way. Like totally
yeah, so
changed.
far it's
like,
totally different. Yeah, the background, the co-host. Yeah, this is all different, man. I don't know what to
way
do.
different vibes over here, man.
We're gonna miss you, but we'll get into it.
Yes, exactly. Tonight, tonight's going to be a pretty cool one because it's something that we both work on diligently every single day. Let's be honest. But you all get to experience it on a weekly basis here. We're going to be breaking down the process of reviewing comic books, and whether you know it or not, whether you like it or not, if you're reading comics in the back of your head, you as well as us, we're all reviewers of this medium here. Nick and I are just crazy enough to decide to put it on YouTube here and make it really formal here. So we're going to dive into that here. We got a couple people that were hanging with us here already, starting with Derek Neiman here, reminding everyone to hit that thumbs up button. We appreciate you, man.
I appreciate it.
Nice seeing you. We also got Bob hanging with us here. Bob, always great seeing you. Let's see here. Bob saying, I got money burning a hole in my pocket. What up? All right. We can make some suggestions. We got more than enough of those, definitely.
Look out for those Hallmark Transformer and Void Rivals this week. The sound chip editions. They'll spend that money quick.
That was not even on my radar. And when you were showing that off in our little back chat, I was like, oh my god. Oh my god. Is there there's a Decepticon version as well then, right?
There is. There's a Transformers #1 reprint with Autobots, and then there's a Decepticon, and there's also a Void Rivals #1 reprint. And I don't have that one. I have the Autobot and Decepticon Transformer #1s. I hope they're different sounds. I'm gonna be pissed if it's not. But
you're reading my mind. I'm like, what is the Void Rival gonna sound like?
Well, I have no idea. I have no clue.
We're gonna find out. Yeah,
I'm sure it'll be on the end somewhere.
Yeah, we also got Bob saying Casey Jones is my number 2. The preview is promising. Cover by DCKO Daniel Warren Johnson. Yeah, we get the Ash Can, I think, is coming out for DCKO this week.
It is. The Ash Can is out this week. Yeah. But you get your Deadpool Batman or whatever the hell it is this week, so that's cool.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, we got a late shower upper here, but always on time here. Voice of an angel, brother Joe himself. Joe, nice seeing you, man.
Good seeing you.
So, Nick, I feel like we should probably start with where we decided to start reviewing comics, right? And how we decided to, like, what made us think, like, what kind of narcissist we must be to think that we can do these kind of things. Like, talk to me a little bit about why it is that you decided to not only start reading comics, but, like, more importantly, start, talking about your opinions.
Yeah, that's a good question. So when I started right after the COVID time. That was when I started my channel. And so I was watching a lot of Mike Spiderslayer, Comic Book Corner 2.0. And he did a cool thing every Wednesday where he literally went to what it was like Central Comics or something like that in just north of Orlando, somewhere around there in Florida. And he would get his books. He would go into his car. He would set his phone up and he would go through the books that he got in his plastic bag. And he would do like a 10-second review of them, which also was the rationale for why he got the next issue. So he kind of did a little haul/review at the same time. And I watched it for like 3 years or something like that. And over time, I'm like, man, I could do that. That's not that hard. I could do that. And then I found Robbie's channel, right? Like a lot of us did. And so then he started building that community. And then we all started talking and everything like that. So we formed this whole thing in the back chats. And then it was a combination of knowing more guys and understanding that people were actually talking about comics in the back chats and things like that, like in chat, whatever, on video and stuff. And so I'm like, well, wait, if I actually do this, I can read more stuff, get better recommendations, because I'm kind of doing this solo because none of my family or friends read comics. And I'm like, if I just join them, I can do this whole thing. I can jump on YouTube. I can talk about books. And that's exactly kind of like the origin of all that. So I'm like, oh yeah, I can make friends and have a good time doing this. So why not? So that's kind of where that started. But Nick and Night has evolved so much like since back then, like my process, my approach, things like that. But yeah, that's kind of how I started it originally.
Yeah. Well, and you already know obviously my story and my journey throughout all of this, since I'm a little bit more fresh than you are, obviously, but I have you to credit for a lot of this stuff, because as I began thinking about it, ruminating over the possibility of doing this, like I feel like I tapped into your knowledge quite a bit to be like, what do you think about this? Am I putting too much thought into that? Like, how is
Yeah.
the of YouTube itself? And
Yeah.
it kind of an interesting process, but like for me personally, I think it really did evolve a little bit, just like you were talking about, out of talking in the back chats, because
Mhm.
essentially that's what it is. I mean, that's the art and the essence of reviewing the comic books, is just taking
Yeah.
the conversations that people like you and me and everyone else that we speak to, and just, kind of distilling it down into a version that is wholly your ideas here, that could be presented without having, it's a conversation with yourself essentially. And I figured
Yeah.
at one point or another, I'm like, yeah, this seems doable. This seems like something
Yeah.
that's, arguably, like you said, could be fun. Even though it's incredibly stressful some weeks, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, yeah, and we can go over like I mean, I have so many like lessons learned. So as this conversation goes on, we can tap into all kinds of stuff. Like if you're out there thinking about getting into the comic book review game, whether it's written or on video, something like that, we can go over our processes, lessons learned, and share tips and tricks and things like that that we've picked up along the way. But yeah, I'm sure we'll have a lot of interesting things to talk about tonight.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we had a couple more people join us here. Let me go ahead and shout them out here, because they are deserving of such here. Simpleton saying, "Oh, he didn't make it to Remender." That's okay though.
Oh,
It's okay. It'll happen. The universe works in mysterious ways, and when you need Remender in your life, he will present himself.
you
I
bought up
promise
all
you
the
that.
copies anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Shh, shh, shh. We don't need to talk about that.
They're on eBay right now. I'll give you his handle. You can search them up.
We also got Lady Fantastic hanging with us here. Nice
What's up,
seeing you.
Caroline? Good seeing you.
And we got Joe saying, "Appreciate you guys taking us under your wing and helping us grow." Joe, you don't give yourself enough credit, sir. You know that it's all you leading this mad band of crazy people.
That's right.
Yeah. And we also got Sal hanging with us, man. Sal, nice seeing you.
What's up, man?
All right.
Good seeing you.
So yeah, let's talk. I guess let's talk about the evolution of that, because, like I said, my
Yeah.
journey started with, just talking in the back chats and being like, "Well, I can't believe you like that. You're a crazy person? Like, how could you ever think that was a quality comic book?" Um,
Yeah.
what do you feel like was the impetus of you being able to talk about comic books? Like, what is it that your review process started as?
I don't really know. So like I started reading like Walking Dead and things like that. And when I walked into a comic shop, there's like so many options out there, and it went back decades and decades and decades. So I didn't even know where to start, where to go. So I started like going online and reading like top 10, this and that and this and that. And so like you were saying before, when you have these conversations with people who are seasoned, they can give you
Mhm.
recommendations and they can tell you why things are good because that creator is good or that or that writing team is good or that artist is great. So you need to pay attention to these runs specifically in Batman, not this, not that. And so I was always envious of those people that could do that, but you have to read a lot of stuff and you have to be able to wade through all the crap, right? And so like
Mhm.
over time, it's just like, okay, read a whole bunch of stuff, hone in on what you enjoy, take recommendations from other people, find people you jive with, and then form your own opinions on things and figure out how you want to talk about it. So like trying to figure out all that is kind of where I started there.
Yeah. Well, and that was part of my experience too. And I feel like we all kind of got into comics, or either into comics or back into comics at a very similar time, which was just slightly pre-COVID. I feel like House of X and Powers of 10 were like a big catalyst to get people back into collecting. And I know that I had
Yeah.
jumped right back in just before that kicked off. But for me, it was really about kind of knowing what I liked previously, because I'd been a collector since I was, a little kid, but then had lapses throughout time.
Yeah.
And like through the power of YouTube, I was able to track down like people talking about comic books. And I had gone through so many different review channels trying to figure out like, okay, what do these people think? What's cool? What's not? And it was it was a rewarding experience looking back at it. It was kind of a trying experience in the moment though, because
Yeah.
you try to find those people where you're like, if a person's out there saying like, "Oh my God, like, you know, Death Roll 14 was such an amazing issue. Everyone needs to go pick this up." And you read it and you go, this is trash. Like, what are you talking about? Like, this is like the most amateur comic I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah.
So it was a fun experience looking back at it, but it was really a trying experience trying to figure out where you were going to find that the I don't know, a review that you could trust, right? Because at the end of the day, and you and I were just talking about this back in the whatever, in the back chats and everything, that these are all opinions. Like, at the end of the day, none of this stuff is factual. None of it is, I mean, it's true to us. We're speaking our truth, but it doesn't mean that it's like 100% the reality of the comic and the creators that put these things out, but it's our experience with these issues. So you have to really, you have to find the reviewers that are going to really hit the same kind of things that you're taking enjoyment out of, right? So that you can say, okay, well, if he says that's good, I'm going to trust that opinion. I'm going to go track that down. Maybe I drop that off my pull list. If he's saying, like, come on, it's been 14 issues and it's still Death Note still isn't doing it. Come on, like, that's it's time to figure that out and save me a couple dollars here.
Yeah,
and go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so it's like, and like you, I spent a lot of time going online trying to figure out who I connected with the most, so I can hear what they had to say, and then take their advice, get the books that they recommended, and if I liked it, it was a positive feedback system. You know what I mean? Like, okay, let's keep going. So, and it really kind of goes back to what kind of person you are too. Like, I don't like reviews that are overly negative. Like, I don't mind criticism, but I don't really like shock value drama, shitting on books. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
There's always something to glean. Like, there's always some kind of positive to glean from every comic. And so you have to figure out what kind of content you want to ingest and what kind of recommendations that person's giving. And then you can read those things and figure out if you like their recommendations and whatnot. But like, also it's the way that they present the material as well. That really helps, so if I try to find people that I usually resonate with, and then also their recommendations just keep hitting over and over again. So that's something else to think about.
Yeah, if you get some more hits than misses, you may have found at least, if not the, review person for you, you definitely found something that's worthwhile for sure. Yeah.
Right.
We had a couple more people make some comments here. We got Rooster Blue hanging with us here. Rooster, nice seeing you, man. Asking, the question tonight. Where is
real
Stu?
question.
Yeah. Stu, we're gonna have to put him on a milk carton here. We haven't been able to find him yet. No, he's perfectly fine. He's taking a night off here, getting rested, getting prepared here for Ink and Insights tomorrow. So don't worry,
we're not stuck with me. Sorry.
Yeah, you got Dollar Store Stu,
Timu Stu. There you go.
There you go. We got Sal Stan Hoxpox got me back into collecting too. It was a powerful thing, man. That book really got people back into shops, back into collecting, and had a lot of it was the driver of a lot of conversation.
Why was it the driver? So like I was reading, so I started reading comics like when Walking Dead was out. So, and then I just maintained that through COVID and things like that. So what was it about Hoxpox that got people back into collecting? Was it the creative team name on it and the shakeup in the Marvel offices and the stories and things like that? Like,
yeah, I mean, For me personally, I think it was a big move. Like Jonathan Hickman, I think that might have been the thing that made him Jonathan Hickman, not due to the quality of his work, because it was always high quality. I don't think he's ever really put out a lackluster book, but I think it was the fact that like he had been building hype. People had seen what he had done with Fantastic Four, with the Avengers, with Secret Wars. So like at that point, he became a world-changing talent at Marvel. Yeah. But I think it was the gusto of Marvel saying we're canceling all the X titles. Like everything is done. What you are getting now is House of X, Powers of 10. That's your X-Men for the moment. So like it or not. And then once issue 1 hit and we got the big revelation of what everything was, it was just like a sea change, like boom, whoa. Marvel's never done anything like that before.
Gotcha.
I think the closest thing we get is the Onslaught event where it was, the Heroes Reborn, where they go into their little pocket universe. I think maybe that's the closest thing, but that still, I feel like, doesn't even hold a candle towards House of X, Powers of 10.
So what it was legacy readers that are familiar with Hickman and his abilities, hearing somehow when they're not collecting comics anymore that he's back and they're shaking things up like they've never done it before. And people were like, wow, I got to check that out. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yep. took collectors and shook them by the shoulders and said, "Get back into shops." Yeah.
Yeah, Rebirth did it to me, but yeah, that's how I got back into the shops. But yeah.
We also got Rooster Blue saying Comics Explained. Yeah, and that's another thing here. Yeah, shout out who it is that maybe got you into collecting, or how, what review channels outside of ours here that you might be checking out and looking into, because I know that there's a ton out there here, a lot of them worthwhile. So let us know.
Yeah, and Rob's approach is so different. Like he'll focus on single books and things like that. He'll focus on entire arcs or single issues in the same exact format. And he usually puts it out like the day before it comes out, so he has early access to things.
Oh yeah, of course.
So so Wednesday will hit, you'll have 2 or 3 videos from him like, oh, Wolverine did something incredible, oh my god,
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And that's kind of another cool aspect of it. I feel like people like me, you, Robbie from Pop Culture Philosophers, I think we do a really good job at giving a brief non-spoiler summary of a book, but we don't necessarily give you beat for beat what's happening in the storyline, catching you up on things. Like, that's the experience that I feel like we're trying to let you experience on your own as a reader. We're just giving you, hey, what are my feelings towards this? Is it entertaining? Is it worthwhile? And it is. It's incredibly hard.
I think you do a better job of that than I do. I think, because it's like I can't help but default back into like the beats of the book, but not necessarily all the details, and then my overall thoughts on things. So it's always something that you have to work on as you're going. It's like, do you want to be full spoilers, or do you want to be high level and vibe only? But you have to be engaging, and you have to have some kind of a hook in your own review itself. So it's like, you can't be too abstract, otherwise the person watching your video won't know what your thoughts are on the book, or even what the book's about. And you can't be too specific, because you want to hide all those cool moments for the reader still. So it's like, you got to figure out where to go. And it's an interesting dilemma each week.
Exactly. That moment in the book where Doomsday knocked Aquaman's head off. Oh my God. Yeah. We can't say that. We can't.
Don't spoil Aquaman last week. Don't do that.
I'm sorry, everyone. It's my apology. Yeah. I didn't see it coming either. So, but yeah, it's an interesting predicament that we find ourselves in, and yet we still do it week over week here. But let's dive in. Let's talk a little bit about our process for how we do it, because you and I talk about it a lot, and I feel like both of our processes have evolved as time has gone on, and I think we're still trying to figure out what maybe the best way, or maybe best is the wrong word, but what's the next evolution of a review process, right? Because I think we do what we do really well, but I think there's still room for improvement for the things that we try to do. In chat, let us know too what you're looking for out of a quality comic review. Like, whatever, feed us that that stuff that you're looking for, because we would love to incorporate it.
And chances are you watch either both of us, or one of us at least, right? Our reviews. So if we do something that's continuously annoying, let us know, or something you would like to see in the future. We're definitely up for some constructive criticism there. So what do you guys look for in reviews, and what do you wish we did specifically more often?
Yes,
or
exactly.
Something you wish we did less. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, so okay, let's talk about reviewing a single comic here. It's a little bit of a daunting task, because I feel like you could fall into a lot of pitfalls, and I feel like we do a pretty good job at maintaining that. I can speak for myself, and I know that there's certain times where I'm looking at things that I've said about issues, and I'm like, am I getting too repetitive? Am I saying the same thing about the same book over and over and over? Am I finding new inventive ways to talk about it? When it comes to reviewing a single issue experience, what is it in particular that you're looking at from like a broad perspective, though, because there's a lot of different things that we could be looking for from different genres or creators?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm always looking for, is this book written in a single issue format, or is it written for a trade, something like that? So like, one thing you mentioned leading up into this was that repetitiveness of a review. So if you're reading an ongoing series and you're on book 30 or something like that, or whatever it might be, and it's just not progressing, or it's just taking its sweet time, and you really don't have much to say other than describing like the vibe of it, like I said before. I'm big on that. Like, if there's no big events happening, no giant cliffhanger or something like that can get kind of daunting after a while from a review perspective, because you're like, what am I going to say differently about this book that I haven't said yet? And it's just another issue, man. And I don't know what's different about it. So then you kind of default back to more generalization kind of things. And that sometimes can get kind of boring for a reviewer, especially when you're 3 or 4 issues in, and you're doing that over and over again. So that's one big pitfall, I think, for that a single issue has over a single issue that's written in that kind of format, over something that's a little bit more exciting, has a bit more hooks into it and things like that. Something written in the single issue format and not like a trade format. So yeah.
I've found myself really, as time has gone on, and maybe I'm giving too much away here, but like personally, I've gotten really bored. It's been waning on me, the books that have been written specifically for a trade, when you just feel it, when you know that there's like, it could be a really great storyline, but each issue like just ends and you're like, so that was it. That's
the worst feeling. Yeah.
It's so tough because it becomes a conversation where you're like, well, I know that this could lead to something cool and I see things building, but overall, I can't really say much about this. And it's become such a tough experience. And it's made me, the cool thing though, is that it's made me appreciate the craft, and it's made me appreciate someone that can write a story for the single issue, as well as write a compelling overall story arc. It's made me appreciate them so much more, because like you see how off the rails it can go, or, you know, intentionally written it needs to be when it's as successful as it can be as well.
Yeah.
It's a really, I don't know, it's a really daunting thing when you have to think about it, because when you think of you know, if we look at storytelling from the most basic perspective, you have to have a three act structure kind of thing. You have to have a beginning, middle, and end. If you do that for each issue, you have to do that for each arc. You have to do that potentially for the entirety of your run. Like if you're talking about like a 50 to 100 issue run, or God forbid, like a big two book that'll never end, who knows like how you're crafting this kind of stuff. So I feel like there's a real art form to people being able to do that and do it in a really, really concise way that I appreciate. But it's made it to where, again, when you listen to reviews, and even in our cases, I feel like when we're preparing reviews, it makes the level of appreciation that much higher for the creators that do it properly.
I know that feeling where you're on that 20 something page, you know what I mean, and really not a whole lot's going on, and then there's one little splash page at the end that shows something, and you're like, oh man, okay, now what do I have to say about this? Well, I can at least lean back on what the book is kind of about in general, and what the players are, and what the feel is, and things like that, and say there's some kind of a hook at the end, but it really affects the excitement of it. And then we as reviewers and people, Wednesday Warriors / reviewers, we have to think about like, man, do I really want to keep picking up this book, or do I want to wait for the trade? And then if I wait for the trade, am I even going to get it? Because I'm not enjoying the single issue format. So it's like, man, so all these things start happening in your mind. But if you're on like issue 6 or 7 and you know it's a 10 issue run, it's like, well, I might as well stick it out. And sometimes it's worth it, and sometimes it's not. So,
well, and this might be a perfect example for it, because I was not a reader of the book I'm about to mention. I wasn't a reader of it on the jump, and I wasn't even a trade reader. In fact, I waited until the hardcovers came out, and there was a gap in the series actually releasing anything. So I played catch up on it, and I got book number 1, book number 2, and it was such a joyous experience. I mean, I loved it from start to finish. The book I'm talking about is Saga.
Oh God, yeah.
And it was, I mean, it's glorious. Those first 3 hardcovers are fantastic, and
it's some of the best comics ever.
I soaked it up, and then I'm like, yes, I'm prepared. I am like caught up. I'm ready to dive back into what Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples are doing. And then I'm reading single issues, and I'm like, okay,
yeah.
So okay, Hazel's at the circus.
Yeah,
and they are circusing it up.
I guess someone's still dead.
yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? No spoilers there.
Yeah, I like that. Someone's still dead.
Someone's still dead, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I think that was a release schedule too. I think, you know, so
partially,
yeah. So I mean, if that was a monthly book coming out, it would still be fresh in our mind every month, and I feel like it would work out. But when you move to like a quarterly release schedule, and then every 6 months, and then we're gonna take another year off, it's like, oh my God. that gets kind of brutal for you because you lose the narrative over time too. So
oh yeah. It gets
if you're going to be doing reviews, man, monthly books, that's hard enough. But when they go to a quarterly schedule, if it's not an episodic kind of a story like an Ice Cream Man or something like that, you can jump in and jump out. If it's a continuous story, God, that's rough. Because you got to go back and read the other stuff too.
Yeah, exactly.
Or just hope for the best.
Well, and here's a question for you, because I feel like your experience has got to be, well, I know for a fact that it's similar to mine, if not more so. We review, let's say, between 13 and 20 comics a week, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
on a regular basis here.
Yeah.
How much reading do you do outside of what you review for the new weekly comics? Just for your own personal enjoyment that you don't even need to talk about.
Yeah. So, I mean, I keep a spreadsheet, man, as you know. So,
Control S.
Weekly, I use Google, man. It just saves it automatically. Weekly. So I'll give you numbers right now. So I've read 463 new comic book day books. So that's on schedule on release week. So 463, and I'm 142 plus a couple graphic novels in the backlog right now. So on top of the weekly books, whatever 142 is divided by how many days we have or whatever, that's on average how much I'm reading outside of my weekly stuff. So a decent amount. That was actually a big goal of mine, was to really dive into the backlog, because the recommendations you guys have given me and the community has given me, they never end, but neither do weekly books. So it's like you got to plow through those and then dip into the backlog a little bit too. Hit some of those classics.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's some of the important stuff, because a lot of the things specifically with big two books that we have to talk towards is going to be like those little nuances that's, an older reader might pick up on immediately, whereas a newer reader, it might just totally fall by the wayside. And there's like, oh my God, you didn't notice that little nuance, the wink that Superman gave Lois because this happened and that happened. It's like, yeah, there's so much to glean from going back into the backlog as well.
And another thing is you educate yourself on patterns and just history of characters and things like that too. So if you have no history in Marvel or DC and you're reading weekly DC books and Marvel books, you might be lost on the nuances of the story or the significance of that character or this planet or this place or that relationship, things like that. So your experience as a reader of that book changes drastically if you don't understand the context. Whereas if somebody was been reading X-Men for the past 30 years and they know all the history, they're like, that's a big moment. And me and you both suffered from this most recently with a little image book that I don't know if anybody else is reading it, called Transformers. Transformers is a book. Yes. Transformers is a book that I am not a Transformers guy. I don't know. I know Optimus Prime. I know Megatron. I know Bumblebee. And then after that, I have to like stretch a little bit. Yes. So like I had to learn all that stuff while I'm reading this. And I'm like, I don't understand why this is a big deal. And Void Rivals really hurt too, because it had a lot of that stuff. And so when I'm reading that kind of stuff, I'm like, it was a destruction derby. That's what it was. It was a cool thing to see. But I couldn't grasp all the rationale or the reasons and that things were so special. And so that really puts a lens on how you enjoy your books and what you think about them too.
Yeah. Well, and chat, maybe you can help us out here as well. The moments that, at least that I had questioned, maybe Nick, you were in the same boat here, was there's a catalyst in that last issue for Starscream to make a big change, to take a big action that was a little bit unexpected. And there's a I don't want to say a transformer, but there's a robotic thing that happens that causes him to make that change. And I could not for the life of me tell you what it was that was even happening in that moment. Who was the transformer? Why was that change triggered? So if you're a Transformers head in the chat, help us out here, because I understand what happened. I don't understand the significance of why it happened and what made it happen that way.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like right in the middle. Yeah, he's about to do the deed, and then something convinces him otherwise, and to put him in a whole different direction. Yeah, and it was so uneventful. I don't even. Yeah, I was like, what are we even doing? I have no idea. Why did we go there? I have no clue. But somebody who's been watching Transformers and loves it might be like, well, yeah, that makes sense because he just saw God or something like that.
Well,
like that doesn't help. I don't know.
Okay, so here we go. We got Omega telling us Cybertronian. Now,
Sure.
here's the real thing. Tell us what that means.
Yeah, let me Google what Cybertronian means, because I thought that was like some kind of mega Omega Tron or something that he saw that changed his perspective on everything.
Yeah. All right, let me see. We got a couple more people leaving comments here. Rooster Blue saying, "I agree. You really can describe the vibe of a book." I think that
Yeah.
I've come that I feel like my enjoyment out of books have really come from that vein a lot more so recently than in the past. I used to really love the continuity of something and the interconnectivity between books. Like I used to really like find myself enjoying things solely based on that. And the more I've read books the last couple of years, and the more that I've kind of found a different niche of comic that I've really enjoyed, it's really like how it makes me feel. Like if you could do something that makes me feel something in a book, you've done wonders. Like that's like a magic trick for me. And if you could do that, man, like yeah, my enjoyment skyrockets from there.
Yeah, a book recently that did that, and we talked about on the monthly show, was Escape. So like in my review on that show and on my own show was I felt like I was in the hull of the plane or in the cockpit listening to this conversation. Like I was that engaging and engrossing. The art just spoke like that. The dialogue seemed natural. I could see myself in both of their shoes, you know, so you put yourself in their position while they're speaking, and you're also feeling like a observer of this conversation. And that the way that they handled the pacing and the chaos and the drama and everything, it made you feel like you were in the comic. And not a lot of comics can do that, right? Not a lot of comics can give you that tunnel vision and really put you in the pages. And some books do that better than others. Some writers do that better than others, combination with the art and everything. So when you have those moments and you have those books coming out that week, it's important to spend time on that experience, because hopefully that experience is something that the next guy can go through as well. And yeah, it's fun to differentiate those comics from other ones.
Yeah, I remember I was reading a Chip Zdarsky book. It was Kaptara, one of the books that, like, one of his earliest works, if I'm not mistaken. Here, he did it with Kagan McLeod, and it's about an astronaut, basically an ill-equipped astronaut that gets transported to a dimension that is very similar to the He-Man universe. It has all those He-Man archetypes, whatever, and it's an incredibly funny book. But I've read a lot of funny books, and like, it's few and far between. Like I'll read a funny book and it'll bring a smile to my face, or like internally I'll know that was a funny thing, and like I'll call it a brain laugh. You know, you don't laugh or anything, but you're like, oh, that's very humorous. Good job, book.
Yeah.
I'm reading this book and I'm laughing out loud. I mean, I'm just like laughing hysterically, like just the same way that if I'm watching like a funny movie, like just like beside myself, like gut laughs, right? And I'm in the middle of laughing, and I look down and I'm like, whoa, that's different. I don't know if I've ever done that before. Like I'm sitting here like just like totally lost in this book and just like laughing out loud. That was a really an interesting experience for me, because that was like one of the first times where it's like something really hit me in a bold way, where I was like, you're gaining some level of enjoyment out of this book that is different from almost all aspects. You're not just going through the paces of reading this book, like it's drawing you in a deep way. That was really cool, and I feel like I've gotten more of those things, albeit different experiences, with a lot of books recently.
Yeah, it's all about immersion, right? Somehow that team was able to pull you right in. You had the right amount of focus, you had the right engagement, whatever it was, and then it just kind of took over everything, and it put you in a zone where you're just there to experience what they have to offer.
Yeah,
and like you said, not a lot of books can do that. So when those books come out, man, we try to spend more time on that and really put that message through.
Exactly. And you know, the flip side of that coin too is that when a book like that comes out, it kind of ruins a lot of other books for you, because you're like,
oh, why didn't
you do that? Yeah, it's like it's so easy, guys.
Shout out in the comments. What books, what comics have you read that have ruined your experiences in other comics? Like, why can't other people replicate this level of greatness? Yes. Like, what were those books? Because we definitely have our list of what those books are. And there's only been 1 or 2 books that I've ever read, comics that I've ever read, that have ruined it for me.
Yes,
like I'm dulled for the next few weeks.
Oh, I could think of single issues here. Maybe we'll get into that in a second here
That's
too.
true.
Yeah. Here we got. Oh, okay. We got Omega. We got Sal San. I was first into comic tropes and Sal from Comic Pop, then discovered the IG comic book space. Yeah, I feel like Well, I mean, comic tropes is a staple in the community. He's been like doing fantastic work for so long, and he's so knowledgeable about like the things that he's really speaking towards. Man, yeah, the comic tropes is a fantastic channel.
Tropes is a blind spot for me. I never got into comic tropes. Yeah, that's interesting.
Okay, well, now
I was really big in the. I'm still really big in the comic pop though. Like I like their back issue stuff. I watch. I don't watch the weekly review stuff that he does, but I watch the back issues all the time.
Yeah,
because they just rip books apart sometimes, and it's just really funny.
And that's the thing. Funny. Yeah, they're totally different channels here, which is a great thing, by the way, because while comic tropes comes from it, while he can be humorous, but he comes from it from a much more intellectual part. Does a lot of research. He can break down like the creators, where they were at in their life, what it meant in the storyline, blah blah blah, all this kind of stuff. Whereas Sal and the crew, they just have a great time with it, and I think it's a really cool thing that they do, where they're able to speak from the reader experience to a non-reader or a casual reader experience. And it's great the ping pong that they can have on that.
Oh, that's the best part. Yeah,
it's like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. Or like you said, when they start ripping it apart because it is so silly with the thing that they're talking about. Like, I don't think that they do anything mean-hearted by any means when I say rip apart. Like, I feel like it's those worthy moments where like
from time to time. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Let's see here. We got Bob saying, I started watching Omni Bros, then branched out. Yeah, I feel like the Omnibus game really took hold in a big bad way during COVID. I feel like a lot of people started looking towards that. Near Mint Condition, I feel like his channel blew up when he's been talking about those style comics for a long time. Same thing with Gen Mint. Let's see here. Rooster Blue. Honestly, something I enjoy about this and you guys doing it together is listening to people discuss it like a debate. I think that's okay. Let me back up here because what I'm going to say will make more sense here. I asked you kind of what your journey was about why you decided to start reviewing comic books. And I feel like I left off a part of my journey as to the reason why I started doing it on YouTube and decided I was going to be bold enough to make videos on it. If I'm being completely honest with myself and with the viewers, because you guys deserve it, I just so badly wanted to be on the monthly comic book review show. I wanted that like in a big bad way. And I wanted to talk to all of you guys about the comic books. When I got to do that, oh man, it was a magical moment. But I say to say that's why the monthly comic book review show is probably one of my favorite things that I do on a monthly basis. Yeah, because while we agree 98% of the books, right? Like there's a couple standouts that maybe one of us didn't read or anything like that. But there are a couple moments where we come out and say like, I don't think I got what you got out of that book. And in those moments, it's really cool because it's it either becomes a thing like, oh, well, you're an idiot, go get out of here. You don't understand the glory that was this comic. Or we get more often than not a really nice breakdown from a lot of the intelligent people that are on that, on that show to say like, here's the reasoning behind that. Here's the nuance behind that. And of course, then we'll probably jab a couple times too, but
yeah, I know on that show in particular, there was a time where we had a lot of some more diversity on there, like for like opinion diversity on there. So now it's pretty funny now because it's like whatever, if it's me, you, and Stu or so, we're generally on the same page with that kind of thing. Robbie can be like a wild card, and then Greg is usually like bringing the oddball stuff, which is awesome, right?
So, I know. So, I love what he brings.
Well, that's the point, right? Like they're introducing books that we didn't read. Or we had a different opinion about, right? So it goes back to finding what you resonate with, and you can only figure that out by reading a ton of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We got Near Zero hanging with us here. Near Zero, nice seeing you, man.
What's up?
Let's see. Trying to play catch up here. I know I missed a couple. Bob saying, for me, the books I'm drawn to either fill me like the Child with Wonder, aka Kryptonite Spectrum, or All in One Thing. Or books I can mostly appreciate as an adult, like Precious Metal and Lover. Wow, Precious Metal or Love and Rockets. I like that combo though. I dig that.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you already named the book that ruined comics for me. So there you go.
Oh well, you know what? Before we dive into that, but we're gonna start talking about that for sure. We have Stu from Doctor Doom's fan club hanging with us here.
What's up, dude?
You're supposed to be resting, man. What's the deal here? What, you can't be hanging with us.
Yeah,
No, man.
I gotta see if Nick's pulling his weight around here. Yeah, I'm doing my worst impression of you, bud.
Yeah, we appreciate you hanging out, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So I knew for a fact that one of your books, if not the book, was going to be Precious Metal, man.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. Why did that ruin all other books for you last year?
Because I feel like okay, so first off, when you have an independent book and you can tell the story however you want to tell it, so you're not beholden to page counts, editorial, really, right? Like that's the magic of independent comics in general. But Darcy found a way to tell like a 6-issue story in I think they're 48 pages per issue. It was one of the best single issue experiences over and over and over again because he knew his structure, he knew his characters, he already had an established world through Little Bird. So we already had an expectation we were kind of going into. Extremely compelling characters. There was a mystery from the very first page that slowly unraveled throughout the entire series, giving you some clues here and there, but also complicating things with more characters that he introduced slowly over time. So it was this perfect puzzle box that you, the reader, were trying to solve issue to issue to issue. And then the artwork, right?
Some of us more successfully than others, by the way.
Yeah. And then the artwork itself was the best work that Ian's ever done in his career. And I can't wait to see more from him because he just gets better and better. So like the visuals couldn't have been better. And then the reader experience issue to issue couldn't have been better either. Talk about hooks in every single issue. You know, talk about big moments, interesting characters, character development, things like that. You know, great moments scattered throughout and hooks at the end with incredible art and a great puzzle that you, the reader, had to solve throughout the 6-issue run. And it paid off.
Oh God.
You know what I mean? So like,
yeah,
sometimes it doesn't work, and that worked. So it was the best experience, right? So then you put that book down, you put that issue 6 down or whatever it was, and then you pick up X book from the big 2. And it's like, I don't know what to do. I'm late for work and they're swinging around town or whatever they're doing. You know what I mean? It's just like, God bless. All right.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
and then
we haven't heard that.
an alarm
like
goes off and a bank's being robbed. And you're like, shit, okay, we're doing this. You know what I mean? Like, we've done this before, guys. Like, what are we doing? But that's the pitfall of continuity comics in big 2, especially. You know, you really can't shake things up and do what you want to do. You have to follow a formula.
Yep.
In independent books, you don't need to do that. And so, yeah. And I think it's more precious too, man. Pun intended.
Oh.
Pun intended. I mean, sometimes these creators are working, like we just talked to Jesse Lonigan.
Yes,
he's been working on Drome for 5 years plus. Like, I don't know how long some of these other, right. I don't know how long these other guys are writing their books for, you know, like big 2 books. Maybe they're ideas that have been kicking around for a long time, or they got a call 6 months ago. Hey, can you write a Punisher book or whatever it is, you know? And they got to spit something out. So it's hard.
Yeah. Well, and that speaks towards the level of enjoyment that we get out of a story that is wholly crafted by the creative team. And what I mean by that is, like, you know, an indie book, essentially a self-published book. Has this been ruminating, and do they have full control over the experience that we're getting? Or is it a big 2 book where, you know, a lot of these storylines, you know, they come from the editors, right? We need characters to do X, Y, and Z. You fill in the blanks and you get us to those places, right? But
and they got to go, okay, I didn't think I had to write, you know, a Star-Lord book for 6 issues, but I guess I got to write a Star-Lord book for 6, you know, or whatever it is, right? Pick random character. So there's a big difference. And when you find those differences and you really experience what comics should be, you know, instead of the mainstream stuff.
Yes, exactly. So I'll jump back in time here too, because I'll talk about the comic that ruined me. and it really goes back to, I think the whole series is really, really good. And I feel like it's of the same caliber of Precious Metal, but very different.
Mhm.
The issue of The Many Deaths of Layla Starr, and I bet you already know which one, the cigarette issue,
That's so
right?
funny you said that.
Where it's all from the perspective of the cigarette that is burning away, right?
Yeah.
Speaking towards, the inevitability of death, right? And the
Mhm.
preciousness of life itself, which was really something that was explored each and every issue of this series as it continues to build and change and
Yeah.
grow, as our, goddess of death is now, you know, stuck in this mortal form and going through the
Mhm.
paces of, living and dying and things like that. That issue, that series would have ruined it for me anyway. But then we got that single issue that takes you out of the journey that you've been on and kind of lets you see the world from its perspective. Totally changed the game for me. That was just like, how are more writers not doing this? But that speaks to the special qualities of the creators that we follow and that we appreciate. It's that trusted thing, right? We talked about trusted reviews. We have trusted creators, and it's the same reason why we preach over and over and over: don't follow characters, follow creators.
Yeah.
The experience that you get with a Darcy and Ian book. The experience that you get with a Round V book. And I'll tell you what, none of these creators have ever let me down, ever. Like,
Yeah.
and that's very telling. I could say the same thing about Rick Remender. Like, like you find these creators and you just got to stick with them, because that's, there's going to be ebbs and flows with the things that they put out. And maybe some projects are more successful than others, because now you're in a game where you're gauging things, right? You have no choice but to
Mhm.
kind of, play the comparison game.
Yeah.
But your level of enjoyment is going to be still skyrocketing. It's not going to be like, do I still want to put this on my pull list? It's going to really be, is this good or great? Like, is this special? Is this one of those books that's I'm going to get the floppies, the trade, the deluxe edition. I'm going to give it to everyone in my family and make them read it against their will. Is that the kind of book that, that I'm reading right now?
It's so funny you brought you brought up Layla Starr, because I think I have every A cover, every B cover. I have the store, like the one per stores that they put out for that too. When I'm
Ooh,
sure I don't have them all, because they actually put a lot of covers out for that series.
there
But
was
I
a
also have the deluxe hardcover, and it's one of like 3 comics my wife has ever read. I think it was the first one I gave her. I'm like,
and
I want oh, and she thought it was great. She was
there we
asking
go.
questions. She's like, well, that's interesting. Like, oh, that was a cool point of view, and that was an interesting revelation, and things like that. And that's definitely one of those books where it kind of has like a lost in translation ending to it in a way. Like there's
A
all
little
this
bit.
build up and all this revelatory stuff happening throughout the thing, and then there's like it's open to interpretation kind of at the end.
Mhm.
Um, but you're right. Yeah, the cigarette issue was really funny. What's even funnier? That was that was my least favorite issue.
What?
That was my least favorite. It was my least favorite for a very long time, because I didn't understand the perspective when I read it the first time. I was like, "What are we doing? I don't understand." Like, what? And then I reread it again. I'm like, "Oh, I get it now." And it's one of my favorite issues now. So
That's
that that that
hilarious.
that's incredible. But that's a great example of a series like Precious Metal that every single issue had a completely new take on it and
Mhm.
evolved the premise of the book. So, like, again, in the first issue, you understand the basics. She loses her position, she gets sent down to Earth, and she goes on a revenge mission. She's like, "I'm gonna kill this kid who's ruined my life," or whatever that
Yes.
means, you know? And then slowly over time, you learn more about that character, Layla Starr,
Mhm.
the spirit that's inhabited Layla Starr, Death or whatever.
Yes.
And then you realize you're on the journey of her interacting with different people in this world that change her perspective and her mission, essentially. And it's just such a poetic, beautiful end to that when they eventually have that conversation and there's closure in that whole story. That ruins other comics for you, because
Yes.
like you said, you just don't understand why other writers can't read that and go, okay, I need to put this level of complexity, thought, vibe, feel into whatever I'm writing. And it's just not possible, because we're all different, of course.
Yes,
But
of
that's
course.
a great example of another comic that ruined things for me.
Yep, yeah, there's I feel like there's one a year that is so blatantly obvious that it's just undeniable, right? I I think I'm still trying to figure out what that is for me in 2025. I feel like I got a good grasp on it, but I don't know yet if I'm confident enough to say what it's going to be, but we're close. I
kind of
got to
agree.
narrow it down.
I kind of agree. There's not a runaway like this is the best comic of the year so far for me.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a great top 5.
Yes, exactly.
It's a
That's
really,
exactly
really good
where
top
I'm
5.
at.
Yeah.
Let's see here. We got well, Bob's telling us we're doing a great job, and Bob, thank you, man. We appreciate that.
Thanks, Bob.
Let's see here. Near Zero saying, I'm late, not sure what's been covered here. This might be out of context, but I want to let the crew know how much I regard and respect their review styles. Well, thank you, man. And that's exactly what we're talking about is the nature of reviewing comics, right? Because it's an interesting thing to do, right? But again, like I'll say the same thing I said at the very beginning of the show. If you're reading comics, inherently you're reviewing comics, right? The only difference is that we're telling our perspective and our levels of enjoyment here on camera with all of you. We're sharing that here in a different way. But at the end of the day, we're all reviewers, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
Let's see here. We got Bob saying, I think the only reason I do a YouTube show is to speak to you guys here. Oh, it's like he's speaking from my perspective here. That's the whole reason I jumped into it. Please do a call-in show once a month here. Interesting that you bring that up here. There's been chatter. There's been things that we're trying to figure out what to do more with this Patreon. So more to come on that here. Keep your eyes and ears open. We'll say that much.
Oh yeah.
We got Near Zero. You're all great at covering the things that would get someone engaged in a comic rather than just spoil the plot points. Yeah, nothing. I'm not gonna lie. I like spoilers sometimes, right? There's some movies out there where I'll Wikipedia the ending here before I watch it, and I'll still have the same experience. But I don't need to be shocked by the things that happen. So like I think that there's an avenue where people can discuss the storylines, right? And like we talked about Comics Explained, I think he does a really great job at that. Not necessarily the thing that I want to do, right? That's not the thing that gets me excited about talking about comics. It's again, just like I talked about with me, what I like out of a comic, how do I feel, right? And I want to be able to convey how a book made me felt. I feel like that's kind of where I want to drive conversations personally.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We got Stu here. I will say that I miss the lyrics and poetry and the prose of people like Moore and Miller brought to the genre. I find that hard to get a fix on for modern books, but I think cats like Ram V come close. I feel like we have analogs for other creators, and I feel like that's I hate to sound reductive, but I feel like Ram V does come very close to getting an Alan Moore type of vibe. I feel like Dennis Camp is somewhat of a modern day Grant Morrison. I feel like we have great creators that are taking the reins and becoming, new versions of those people that we really enjoyed from years past as well.
Yeah, it's that spectrum of writers, right? Like you're always going to have that. There's always going to be some representative of that breed, of that generation, whatever it might be. More heady. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm not sure who who the Frank Miller would be. I was about to give it away. I think the closest I get to is maybe Mark Miller, but I feel like that's stretching too.
Yeah. I don't know. I have to figure that. Yeah. I'd have to think about that.
Yeah. Something to think about here. Let's see. Simpleton. Pretty sure. Okay. I'm not down with the lingo here. Pretty sure some of these precious metal issues are like 60 pages. Yes. Yeah. I wonder how you figured that out. It could be from removing the staples and rebinding all of them.
I think you're right. That last one was 64. Yeah.
It needed it though. Every single page was necessary.
It was insane.
Yes, exactly. Let's see here. Playing catch up here. For me, the best book has a sort of gravity, not a seriousness, but a thing that keeps me pulled to the page. Could be the words, could be the art. That's an interesting. Okay, so that's an interesting thing to talk about. So your enjoyment level for a comic book, it is a visual medium, right? How much does that weigh into your experience? Like, at what point? What is your tipping point between writing that is not resonating with you, but great art, or art that doesn't necessarily strike with you, but the writing is wonderful? Like, where do you find that happy place, or where do you not?
Yeah, for me, it's not necessarily like the style of the art itself that could turn me off. It's more about the expressions on their faces, like the actual dialogue and the expressions. I can read great writing and horrible art by everyone's standard horrible art, but if you can't nail down basic expressions or those quiet moments, talking head kind of things, if I don't dig that style, I find myself fixating on those problems and being pulled out of the story, and my criticism brain kicks in, my critic brain kicks in and be like, guys, what are we doing with the art here? This is ridiculous. And then it distracts you from the story. So like it has to have decent art, and it has to handle those quiet moments even well. Like everybody can put Spider-Man swinging through the air and doing that kind of stuff. Like people probably practice that stuff, but like those talking head moments with a weird expression or an offset eye or something crazy, that just takes me completely out of stuff, But I mean, on the flip side, it's like that. I mean, back at you, right? It's like if you had a horrible story but incredible artwork, can you sit through that book? Like, I don't know. Like, I think there has to be a minimum level of decentness, right? And both sides to even make your way through that story without rolling your eyes or being distracted by how bad one or the other is. So, and there's definitely books. What was there one this week coming up? I think there might be one coming up this week that I'm reading, and it's like quiet moments, talking head, but the facial expressions are so bad and distracting. I'm just like, I just don't, it pulls me out of the story. And I'm like, I can't even focus on what they're saying. So then I have to go back and reread that page, and I'm like, oh man, they should have did a paste up on that or something like that, or hit Control Z a few times. I don't know what they're doing. But
well, yeah. And it makes me think of a book that is really worthwhile. And I think that it would be something that I still recommend to people, particularly fans of Jonathan Hickman. But one of his earliest works, Pax Romana. Have you read that one?
No, I have the first two paperbacks, but I haven't gotten into it yet.
So really worthwhile read. It's 100% Jonathan Hickman, and I mean that in two ways, right? Immediately that you're reading it, and it's a Jonathan Hickman book.
It's complex. It's time jumpy. There's magic.
Yes, but also he's responsible for the artwork in the book too.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
Yes, and I gotta say, it made me wish that there were a different artist on the book, and I'm very sorry, Jonathan. I think that you're a very talented individual. But reading it, I was like, oh, I feel like there's a more successful version of this that could be put to the forefront here. But I could say the same thing about Brian Michael Bendis's early work as well, because he started as he wanted to be an artist, and he drew some of his early crime stuff. Is there a better version of that? Maybe, possibly. I think that there is. I don't know where I sit on the fence with that one.
Okay, could you read a horrible story with amazing art? Like, how hard is it to get through that book?
Here's the thing, like gun to head, I think that would be the answer I give. I think that I could deal more so with a lackluster story and like really great artwork. And I feel like I'm going to hate myself for saying that, because I know for a fact that there's been books that I've griped and moaned about, and I'm like, oh, what are they even doing here? But also Pepe Larraz is on artwork, and I'm like, man, that looks really nice.
We don't want to talk about too many Spider-Man books tonight, but yeah.
No, we never name names. We never name names. But there has to be, I'm totally stealing that minimum level of decency. Decent. Yeah, exactly. I might
whatever the channel. Minimum standards.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Let's see here. Stu saying, y'all don't understand what that book did to this man. Nick can take a master's degree level curriculum on.
I got away from that narrative a while ago. I feel like I need to reread at some point.
Oh, that's definitely a book to revisit here. Well, and that's another sign of a great, book that is something that we take a lot of enjoyment reviewing, as well as the fact that when you can revisit a book and you still get a really wonderful experience out of it. Man, I got to tell you, that makes it all worthwhile. And I think that a lot of people, you and I, and I think that the people that do the weekly comic book review kind of things, a lot of us do a really good job at really conveying that kind of thing. I think that hopefully, and maybe chat, you could tell us if we're wrong. I feel like you kind of get the impression that a book is going to be special, or it's going to be something that's worthwhile to revisit based on kind of how we're reacting and the things that we have to say without spoiling those books.
Yeah.
Let's see here. When it's best, the page disappears in the world. Yes, exactly. Yeah, you find yourself transfixed in it.
Oh yeah.
For me, everybody is read is compared to the first book I truly love, which is Daredevil 177. Man, what a great first read, dude.
That's the Electra stuff, right?
That's the Electra saga. I believe that's 2 issues after the first appearance of the Hand. I think so. I can't recall the cover. I think that might be the one where the arrows are being shot up at Daredevil as he's diving down. Bob, let us know here. I think that's the one. I'm putting my Daredevil fandom at risk here by calling it out like that.
I'm going to pop it in CLZ and see.
Okay.
I don't actually have it. I have everything around it. The heck?
Come on, man. We've been friends for how long, and you don't have the full Frank Miller run of Daredevil? Okay, I'll forgive you this time.
I passed. Yeah, I had a lot of them in my hand one day at my shop, and it was in the dollar bins. I don't remember what. I don't know. I don't remember where. I don't remember what part of the run it was, or wherever the series it was. But I ended up having like 55 Daredevil books from the dollar bin, and I remember saying to myself, I was like, man, this is when the show first came out on Netflix, and that was,
wow.
I'm playing catch up, guys. So I'm looking at this stuff and I'm like, that's such a lot of books. That's just no one spent $50 on like these back issues. I have no idea,
You had a much better, well, here, I'll share this. You had a much better dollar bin experience here. Going a little bit outside of the review aspect, you had a bunch of Frank Miller Daredevils in your hand for $1.
I don't remember if it was Frank Miller, first off. Yeah.
I wasted a bunch of dollars on Elektra, her first, or well, I shouldn't say her first series, her first ongoing series.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, these are not good books. These are not enjoyable comics. Did I still buy them? Yes, because reasons, I guess.
I don't remember what this was, but that's the cover. That one.
Ah, shoot. Okay, I was wrong. I
don't know that one.
That's okay. I'll have to forgive myself. We got Rooster Blue saying, I've been ruminating on my own stuff. Would you guys ever do like a mailbag thing and review stuff that your subs send in?
So here's the other thing about when you do reviews online. When you do reviews online for long enough time and you put a way to contact you on there, people send you things a lot. A lot of people that are, this is my first comic. I want to get your thoughts on it. Can you help me promote this? Can you help me promote that? And it's like, we'd love to do that. We love to do that kind of stuff. There's just a lot of that happening, and it just boils down to time and everything too. So I know for me personally, I never turn down things. I can't always guarantee like fast responsiveness on reading it, consuming it, compiling thoughts on it, creating content for it, and pushing it out to meet your Kickstarter timeline. Things like that, but I'm more than willing to consume people's stuff and then give them my thoughts on things, preferably privately, and then I can help promote things otherwise. But that's how I manage that.
Yeah, well, and there's a whole other facet that comes along with that too, is that to have those opportunities is really awesome.
Yeah.
As reviewers, though, I do feel strongly about this, that we have an obligation to give honest opinions, right? Regardless of maybe being given a free copy. And for me personally, and I'm sure you do the same here, like you kind of, that's kind of one of the precursors. Like I'd love to see your work here. By the way, if I were to do something, it will be an honest opinion. And we don't rip things apart here, but if there's criticism, if there's critique, we'll do so in a constructive way. But it'll be present if it's something that speaks to my experience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to share, if you create something, you don't want to share it to people and they're just going to lie to you. Yeah. If everyone says, "Oh, it's great, dude, I loved it. The action was great. The art was amazing. The writing was solid." It's like, well, that doesn't help me at all. Like what didn't you like about it? Like, yeah, that's great. I'm glad you liked it. But like, what'd you think about the pacing? Like ask, if you share, here's a general tip. If you share your work with people and you want their opinion, ask them specific questions. Don't say, "What did you think?" That's probably the worst way to get an answer from somebody. Say, what'd you think of the lettering? Did you think it was engaging? What'd you think about the pacing of it? Did you like the twist over here? Or is that character underdeveloped or overdeveloped? Or did I spend too much time in this scene here or that scene there? Like, think about how you think about the book, and then ask specific questions instead of asking, can you just review this?
Yeah.
That's some advice that I would give.
And sometimes coming from it at your most insecure or most vulnerable place might be the best aspect to look at that, right? Because if you show that you're comfortable speaking to the things that maybe need fine tuning or that you're working towards, that opens up the level of comfort for people to give honest opinions as well. Hopefully, that's present anyway, as far as the honesty level. But yeah, like if you show like, hey, I'm putting focus on this though, or like, and from a good aspect as well, you can maybe show the change over time. Be like, I really tried to hone in on, like you said, pacing on a book here. What do you think? That I think that helps a person to be able to provide some kind of really good feedback in regard to what you're working on.
Yeah.
We got Near Zero saying, my first profound experience with comics was Ronin. Wow. I was 12 or so when it came out. And my first experience seeing that comic could be something more. The art was a large part of that. Wow, man. I could see that though. Ronin, the original Ronin, very different, man. And I can see in the landscape before indie comics, right? I mean, that's because that's before Vertigo, that's before Dark Horse, and definitely before Image Comics. I feel like you had the indie that was like Robert Crumb and like Zap Comics and things like that, but it wasn't anything that would. Yeah, that must have been an experience, man. Because I know what the experience was reading it, from the perspective. I didn't read it until I was an adult, and I know what I gained from it. So that must have been wild.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine reading because that was mid '80s, so like I can't imagine what the landscape was, and when that book came out, because it's DC published it, right? So
yeah,
I can't even imagine what the mindset was for the general population back then. And then Ronin hits, and you're like, what the hell is this? So that's a great example of a story. So Ronin 2 that came out what 2 years ago, last year, something 2 years ago.
I think it was 2 years ago. Yeah,
that's a great example of horrible story, great art.
Well, not only that,
it was hard to get through for me, man. I was flipping through like, oh, okay. And then it would change depending on who was doing an issue. Uncle Frank was doing some issues, right? And then I'm like, man, I wish we were doing more. I wish we weren't doing this, because it seemed like the art was blown up and he's just changed as a person, as a creator. And that's just the way it goes. But I can't agree. I loved the first volume of Ronin. It was spectacular. The kayfabe guys got me on there. I think I got every issue. I read it. I've read it 3 or 4 times now. I have multiple copies of #1. Whenever I see it in the wild, I always pick it up because they're like $5 a piece, right? So they're not expensive issues. So I find them all the time and I always pick them up.
And that speaks to another part of the review process that we all have to go through, which is the expectation, right? Especially, so we say follow the creators, and I agree with that sentiment 99% of the time. Sometimes, even with a Frank Miller, though, you find yourself going, okay, Uncle Frank, what are you doing to us right now?
But, or a Hickman, or a Rom, or insert whatever or a Chip, insert your favorite, or a Tynan, insert your favorite modern day writer, and it's like it doesn't always hit, but when it does, it does. Yeah.
But with a property as well, I gotta say, Frank Miller returning to Ronin, having his own publishing house here with Dan DiDio, I was really hyped for that book. My expectations were arguably through the roof. I don't think that they could have been higher than they were.
That's pretty high.
Yeah, and that was a bummer of a book to review. To the reading experience, it left a lot to be desired, man. But that goes with, trying to keep a level head with all of the books and all the creative teams that are coming out too, and trying to come at these things with as fresh eyes as possible, which, man, honestly, like, it's kind of a revelation I'm having in the moment here. That might be the hardest thing to do. You know what I mean? Like that's an incredibly difficult task to, I don't know, to try to speak towards and really give everything as fair a shot as it really truly deserves.
Yeah.
I had a similar experience too with the X-Men relaunch. You guys all know I was a fan of the Krakoan Age. I rode that sucker to the end. I did not give up. I was there for the long haul. And when they changed, I was, whatever. It hurt. It did. Sure. It really hurt me. I was all there for the resurrection protocols. but I wanted to stick through and see what the mutants were going to be up to. My my earliest memories of comics really are from the X-Men. I mean, that was my headway right into comic books. So I'll always have a love for the mutants. And then the relaunch happened, and there was a lot of hype behind it. Tom Brevoort was taking over the line, and expectations got got the best of me.
I think, the turning point for me was X Lives and X Deaths. Like getting through that series, that was kind of like, okay, there's some cool things happening here. But as soon as that was over, I'm like, oh, I'm seeing the writing on the wall now, and things took a turn after that. After that little limited series came out.
If you're hip to this book by the name of Power Fantasy, you might find yourself being interested in going backwards and reading Immortal X-Men. Maybe just throwing that out there.
Oh yeah, Immortal X-Men. Yeah.
Exactly. We got Rogue hanging with us here saying what up. Nice seeing you, Rogue. Let's see here. And we got, let's see here. Near Zero. Daredevil was my favorite book back in the day. Miller Mazzucchelli and Miller Jansen were tops for me. I appreciate your taste. I'll never ever get sick of speaking about either one of those teams, man. They put out,
need to get a room, guys. Yeah.
Come on. It's the greatest comic books that are ever made, period.
Oh, I love it.
Born Again, best story ever. Okay. Yeah. We talked a little bit about the frequency of releases here. I'm gonna flip it on its head a little bit, because you talked about books that come out on a quarterly cadence and you really kind of lose the storyline, and it deters from your experience. What about when books go 26 books released in a year, right? What if it goes bi-weekly? How does that impact you as a reader and reviewer? Do you enjoy that? Do you not enjoy that? Reader and reviewer, I guess.
Well, the good news is it doesn't happen very often. When it does that bi-weekly, usually it's a big 2 book. Usually it's Marvel.
If not to name names, if
I'm remembering correctly. And I honestly, a lot of those titles that do that, I don't really read them. What would be impossible is for the same creative team to stay on them. So that's probably another thing to think about too. It's like, if we can maintain the same creative team on a monthly book, and great. If we switch to a bi-weekly thing or twice a month kind of a thing, then they have to switch teams up, which inherently for me impacts the enjoyment, or at least the continuity of my experience. So I just kind of, it's not as good of a reading experience for me. So it's inevitably going to impact the review of the book itself, because then you start thinking about, why are they doing this? And if the story itself is not engaging, if there's not a cool event going on, if it doesn't have that beginning, middle, and end, you start contemplating the why are they doing this? That can lead you in all kinds of different directions, right? It's like, well, how many issues is this? Are they trying to hit 1,000? You know what I mean? Like, it faster than they would have otherwise? Who knows? So, and if they try to get clever with things, wasn't it, what was that book? Radiant Black? They started doing like 0.5 issues, and they had different things happening in them, or something like that, and so it forced the reader to kind of buy both issues to see what the choose your own adventure was, or experience the story in all its glory, or whatever it was. So like, I think there's interesting ways that you could approach that as a publisher and as a writer, if you do that kind of a thing, but you have to be careful that it's not hacky and it's for the right reason. And so you have to make it worth it. If you're putting out two issues a month, man, you better have a good reason to do it, other than trying to hit some kind of quota or whatever.
And it's, and I heard a little bit about this too. Well, I've experienced it too, but Action Comics was the last one. I think ASM has started to do it, and I think it's been a hindrance to that book, just without a shadow of a doubt. I think it is, but I think that Action Comics was very much the same way. Granted, they were largely able to keep the same creative team on the storyline. It was Mark Waid, and the artist is escaping me. Clayton Henry, maybe. But it was a clean story. They kept the creative team mostly intact. But I gotta say, there came a point where I was reading Action Comics, and it became a chore, because it was Action Comics all the time. I had way too much Superman in my life, and like,
oh yeah, sure.
Sometimes you need that break, right? Like, and it gave for a little time to have for lack of a better term, like those water cooler moments, you know, like I feel like
Mhm.
we've seen it in the realm of TV shows, right?
Yeah.
Binge watching became a big thing. Like, oh my God, did you watch season 4 of Stranger Things? Oh yeah, I burned through it over the weekend, and then no one talks about it.
Yeah.
And then it's gone. Whereas if you have a monthly book, it's kind of always in the zeitgeist. We're always having conversations about it. What do you think is going to happen? What was your experience reading the last issue? Can you believe that so and so is going to be on, you know, doing a backup story in the back or something like that? Blah
Right.
blah
Right.
blah. Yeah. So I feel
Yeah.
like even when you get a creative team that stays on it, the frequency of a book can really end up being a detriment to the experience all in all. At
Yeah.
least for me personally.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, you got to give the reader time to miss you, you know? So,
Yeah, great point.
and,
Great
and,
point.
and if you are going to force them to buy a book, it better be worth it.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't think I'd have a problem with it. Like I get the point, but I don't think I'd have a problem if it was it was a really good book, you know, and it
Yes.
made sense to do that. I mean, who would hate a really good book more often, you know? So yeah, there better be a good reason behind it and not,
Yeah.
and relieve the jarringness of the art change as well. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So I think we've talked a lot about reviews here. I'm gonna lead with or leave us with one final question here. I don't even know the answer to this one myself yet, but I
Hmm.
think it's something that's could be interesting here. What's been your most rewarding thing that you've experienced being a reviewer of comic books on YouTube?
Ooh, yeah.
Yes.
So I do have an answer for this.
Oh, right
I
like
probably
that. Wow.
I have one. I have one. Well, I have two, and I might think of others as we talk about it.
Okay.
So one is just the engagement, like here, right? So like you
Yes.
said, like the month of comic review. Like there's nothing better than sitting back with a bunch of your friends and just talking about books that you love throughout the month. Even if
Mhm.
it's an echo chamber, sometimes like it's still a really fun experience to talk about the nuances of all that. Especially, and to go back to what we said before, when you're talking about complicated stories and puzzles that are in the books, or not literally puzzles, but like things you're trying to figure out as a reader because the writer has planted those in a certain sequence that
Mhm.
you'll consume over time. So it's really fun to have those conversations. It's like going to the comic book store and the guys are standing around talking about who would win in a fight or something like that. Or did you read that last issue? It was incredible. So when you
Mhm.
can take that part and put it onto an online format and talk to people across the country or across the world, there's nothing better than that. So that's one. Number two, it may be tied for one or in place of one, would be I love it when you occasionally get comments from people that are like, thank you so much for doing this week in and week out, opening my eyes to this series and that series and this series. And like that's the best kind of stuff right there. Love comments in general, but like every once in a while you get one that just makes you go like, damn it, man, that's why I do it. Like that's why I do it right there, you know, because those comments are amazing. And what I try to do is I try to screen grab those and like save those in like a file, you know, because every once in a while it's really nice when you're sitting here trying to work your way through 20 books and half of them are garbage. And it's like, why am I doing this? Like, oh, I got a thing this weekend. I got a game I got to go to. I got this work thing or whatever it is, or, and it's like, I just don't have time for this right now. Like, I don't have time for it this week. And then you go back and you read those comments and you're like, yeah, but some people, man, you never know which video is going to be especially resonating for somebody and completely change their day.
That is
Um,
so true, dude. That
yeah.
is such a true statement because yeah, like
Mhm.
when we talk about this, like, you know, we try to gauge our success as, you know,
Yeah.
YouTubers and as reviewers and things like that. And we have a lot of great numbers and a lot of great graphs and things like that. And I know that a lot of us talk about the level of effort that we put into videos. And sometimes, you know, you think you just hit everything. You're like, I put this new graphic here, and I like the transition was so
Yeah,
fantastic.
we
And
do that a
the
lot.
I was so concise, and then it's like that video does
Yeah.
nothing,
Yeah.
right?
It's
And
number
then
8 of 10. You're like, damn it.
yeah, you had
What
a
the heck, man?
terrible week of work though, and you had to like fly through a recording, and then you had to catch a
Yeah.
flight or something like that, and all of
I
a sudden
lost
that
3 subs in that video. What are you talking about?
yeah, but then it takes off out of nowhere too. It's just it's such a wild experience. But yeah, you took my answer, you stole it. But I'm
Oh,
glad to know that we have the same experience, and
yeah.
I knew that too though because again a peek behind the curtain here. When we experience those things, if our comments, if our replies don't really convey the level of excitement and enthusiasm we get for it, let me tell you, we share those in the back. We're like, you know, we're sharing these things and we're saying, can you believe so and so said this? Like,
yeah,
I was down today. This was my cigarette issue of Layla Starr for emotionally today. This is exactly what I needed in my life. So it's a really great symbiotic experience that has really, you know, cultivated throughout, you know, all of the work that we do, but all of the work that the chat does, and the people that, you know, take the time to watch this stuff and, you know, appreciate it and give us feedback and help us grow as well. So
yeah, and what also is great is, like, you know, there's a lot of folks out there and some in the chat that spend a lot of time in the comments, and they say that, like, this is every book I read and this is what I thought about it and stuff. And yeah, I agree with that. Or they answer questions that we ask during the video. Like, it's that engagement that's really, really fun too. So, like, we don't do this just to do it and then turn it off and walk away. We do it to some degree like that, but we love it when the comments come through and there's engagement on there and there's questions and there's, hey, I'm thinking about picking that up, or I didn't grab that, but according to your review, it was really cool, so I got to go back and get it, because, you know, we click on our types of books that we like. So that's really, really fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, nothing gets me jazzed like, you know, seeing that, you know, something really resonated with somebody, or like a recommendation, they went to go pick it up and read it. And it's cyclical too, because I've had people recommend books to me in the chat that, you know, granted they don't make it to the review because that book has already been out at that point, but there's been plenty of times where I circle back around and I'm like, oh, I really dug that. I really enjoyed it. And I maybe would have missed that if it weren't for so and so, you know, dropping knowledge on me. So yeah, it's been a real joy, a real great experience here. And we're continuing to, again, we're trying to refine our methods here more and more as time goes on here. But I think that we put a really nice bow on the conversation of reviewing comics here. Nick, thank you so much for joining me tonight, man. I appreciate you. On my grading scale of comic books, you're always a 10 out of 10, man. You're always at the end of the grading bar for me. Gem mint.
Nice.
Yes,
nice.
I appreciate you. Just as like the chat here, I appreciate them as well. So if you've been hanging with us all night tonight, man, you're the best of the best, cream of the crop here. If you're catching us on the rewind, we appreciate you so much. Do us a favor though. Again, help us understand what it is that you're looking for out of a review. Where can we improve? Where can we grow? And what are you reviewing and recommending for us? Let us know in the comments down below. But again, thank you all for hanging with us here. And that's it for notes from the editors here. We will catch you tomorrow on Dr. Doom's Fan Club for Ink and Insights. Nick, do you have anything you want to plug here before we take off?
No, man. Yeah. Ink and Insights newsletter. Go over to Patreon. Check out the Ink and Insights newsletter. It's free.
You're always so good at promoting that, and I forget it every single time, man. You're like the
Listen, I spent a lot of time on that, Eric. I don't know if you noticed. No. So yeah, we the three of us spent a lot of time on that. So we really appreciate you guys checking it out and everything. And that's going to evolve over time. So we're keep adding new segments. Stu's got so many freaking good ideas for things to add. That guy's incredible. And we can't wait to expand what Patreon means and put out some more opportunities out there. We're really excited to see what that brings us. But you can catch me over here on Blame Fable on Fridays, my own review shows, haul videos, things like that, comic breakdowns, everything, interviews and whatnot over on my channel. And I'm always collaborating with these guys. So yeah, always a pleasure to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you. And thank you to everyone in the chat. We will catch you all tomorrow on Ink and Insights. Have a nice one.
Later.